Hello, Louisville. Guess who's coming to dinner? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. This evening, I have a friend from a long time ago that we got reconnected through another mutual friend. This evening, I'm going to introduce to you Miss Arnita Gadson. And how you doing, Arnita?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful. I asked Arnita to come on the show because aside from talking about the protest and racism as it refers to the criminal justice system, our school system, I heard Michael Dyson the other day said anything that's got system in it is racist, basically. But tell us about the organization, the West Jefferson County Community Review Board. Is that right?
Almost.
Almost. Okay. Hit it up for me.
It's the West Jefferson County Community Task Force.
Task force. Okay. And exactly tell me who started, what's its mission, what's going on?
We've been around since around 1996,
Wow.
and
Okay.
it was started. Actually, Reverend Coleman was a part of the beginning of it,
Okay.
and it was called the West County Implementation Project. It was WCIP at the time, and
Mhm.
what the project was, it was funded. A facilitator was funded by the Louisville Health Department, and they were to gather as many community members together, which was about 500 total, to talk about environmental issues. So there
Mhm.
were 4 meetings held, which included 12 communities. And I hate to try to start each neighborhood because I guarantee you I'll forget one, but it's 40212, 40210, 40211, 40216.
Okay.
And so those that was the zip codes, and then the zip codes is about 12 neighborhoods. And people came together and they put together what they felt were their issues. And once they put it all together, it became an action agenda.
Okay.
And that action agenda actually was given to Mayor Abramson at the time in September 1996.
Okay.
And so once that was done, then the health department said, well, we've done our job. We hired the facilitator, and this is what they came up with. And so we're through and we're done. And the University of Louisville was also a part of the organization. And the University of Louisville representatives actually took the action agenda and found a grant. And
Okay.
they grant from this action agenda. And this grant was called EJ2, Environmental Justice Through Pollution Prevention. It was
Say
a
that again.
environmental justice through pollution prevention.
Okay.
It was
Okay.
called EJP2, Environmental Justice Through Pollution Prevention.
Okay.
And that grant was basically to inform everybody about what environmental justice was, to help them understand what their role was, and to actually set up a plan from this action plan.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the money didn't provide for like so many things that we do. We get things going and then we lose money to really start something to
Right.
get it done. So the grant in itself was $308,000. It was 208,000 from EPA. It was an EPA grant, Environmental Protection Agency, and then it
Mhm.
was a match of 100,000 from
Mhm.
University of Louisville. So it was a total of $308,000.
Mhm.
So in that grant, it said that you must have an environmental justice director, administrator, coordinator, whatever, and that the office must be set up in an environmental justice neighborhood. So I was hired in actually to manage the grant. That was my job. My master's is in management. And
Okay.
so I was hired in to manage that grant.
Okay.
And once I got into it, then I really realized that there was a disconnect between the university and the community because the university felt once they had the grant, then they were supposed to actually do it. And the community said, well, you have the money. What are we supposed to do? How come this doesn't come to us?
Right.
So I was put on spot from day one because the university just said, well, we've hired someone, let us introduce you to her, and she's going to be doing this. And I'm sitting there going, I'm not even sure what. I've read the grant, but trying to find out where it was, what the progress, but that's okay. It's a challenge, right?
Okay.
So there were two,
Wow.
there were two things.
Stumbling blocks.
Yeah, there were two things that had to come together. Number one, the university did what universities do. They find a cause, they write a grant, and then they take the money and they do their research. Sometimes the community is actually involved, sometimes they're not. Sometimes the community knows that they are a part of a grant, and then sometimes not. Now, the community did know that they were part of the grant because they were the ones that set the catalyst in place.
Okay.
Shortly after that, the I kept saying, the community was saying, well, we want to have meetings, we want to run off stuff, we want to be able to, get stuff out. And so I told them, I said, that's exactly what I'm supposed to do. So we set it up, you tell me what you want and I will do it.
Okay.
But what I realized was that the community was angry because the university did not tell them they were writing a grant on their behalf. So I had to kind of explain. I bought a big dinner for everybody. I thought maybe if everybody sit down with some food, then maybe we could kind of come together. And I had to explain two things. I had to tell the university, I don't care if you well, I had to tell the community, they found the grant. It was due in 2 weeks. For a university to find a grant, write it, and get it out the door in 2 weeks is almost unheard of. That was
Right.
the first. So you got to understand that. That's the procedure. I said, you have to give them credit because they literally were going to people's doors, not, I mean, university folks' doors, knocking on doors saying, I need you to sign this. So I need you to read it now and I need you to sign it. On the
Okay.
other hand, they should have called somebody within the organization, the membership of the group or the participants, and say, we got this grant here. What do you think about it? But we only got 24 hours to get your opinion on it. The university didn't do that. So, from the university standpoint, should you have let them know what you were doing? Yes. Community, from your standpoint, this is something unheard of. You can just kind of get over it and let's move on and let's take advantage of what we have here. So then we started monthly meetings, and we've been having monthly meetings. I was hired in April of 1997 at the university. So we've been having meetings monthly.
So wait a minute, let me ask you this. So
Mhm.
you're saying so the university eventually they hired you
Yes, yes,
to to facilitate this grant.
right,
Okay.
right.
Good.
They have to. They didn't really have a choice because they knew that this was not, EPA. When they asked for their what do you call it, their reports, their
Right.
regular reports, they really, the only thing they could say was that they had gotten a community together and they had an action agenda. But unfortunately, the people got together and had the action agenda before they got the grant. So you
Okay.
see, the grant did not cause the people to get together and do the action agenda. It was
Okay. Okay.
the other way
Okay.
around. So what I was hearing, the community kept saying, "This is, we get these smells, we're sick." So I'm reading, I keep reading. You see, the cancers are higher, people are dying
Right.
much more, and that not only that from cancer, you had, high rates of asthma, upper respiratory diseases, diabetes, and high blood pressure and heart disease.
Okay.
And these things were higher in death rate or severity in West Louisville. Now, that didn't mean that there were not more numbers in other areas, but the death rate was higher from them
Okay.
in West Louisville. So once I read that, then it's like, okay, what we gotta do something. Well, the companies, I always believe in have your friends close and your enemies closer.
Oh, yeah.
So I always invited the industry to come to the table.
Hmm.
And at that point, there was some people from the previous numbers that were at the table that no longer wanted to be at the table because they didn't want industry at the table. Now that part I couldn't understand. I'm throwing that in because that's a real important part, real
You
important.
said now, you said some of the people at the table didn't want the industry itself at the table with you all.
Right, right. However, they were at the table when they were developing the action agenda.
Okay.
And I couldn't understand why all of a sudden they didn't want them at the table. And so that faction left the group. The group stayed together and said, okay, we want to continue this. We don't want to let this go. We want to do something now.
Right.
So once, I came in, got everybody, and I was feeding everybody once a month, fed them once a month for many years. Then people begin to see each other as people rather than somebody that's doing something to me.
Right.
But my question was, so if the industry is doing what they say they're doing and and they're doing what the standards are, then we have not found out. You're telling me what's going on, but there's no reason for it. And I kept hearing things like, well, the people don't eat right, they don't exercise right, and they don't take care of themselves, and they don't. And so when I first heard that, I just kind of sit there and looked at them. I said, okay, now, if you live in East Louisville, let's see, there are fat people there. There are people that smoke. There are people that drink. I said, by the way, in East Louisville, I said they don't buy by the fifth and a half pint. They buy by the case.
Hmm.
So in East Louisville, everybody's doing exactly the same thing. There are overweight people.
Hmm.
Now, the only difference is they don't have 12 chemical facilities setting within a mile from their home.
Right.
That's the difference.
Right.
Now, does that mean that they don't get anything? Oh yeah, see they're upwind. So yes, that some of that blows and some of it gets. And it's so funny when I tell people like in Prospect, you're getting a little bit of it. Oh, they just kind of, oh my God, we don't have that out here. And I thought, and no, I don't think. I tell them, yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
But now from that point, it was like, and the industry, I mean, they were, oh, Arnita, we're not doing this and we're not doing that. So I said, okay, who is paying attention? We had some things called toxic release inventories. They were reports that the industry actually filed with EPA. So I said, who's watching this? I mean, who knows what they do? And well, we kind of look at it ourselves. And I said, well, when does EPA come and monitor or check? Well, they come maybe about once every 5 years, 4 years, something like that. I said, okay. So in other words, it's like the fox in the chicken house. That's
Right.
the one I saw it. So it seems to me we just need to find a way to verify this. Now you have to understand I'm a goal oriented person. I don't fight to fight. I don't argue to argue. If we're going to do it, we got to be headed towards an end somewhere. So I said, well, let's do some monitoring. So I asked the University of Louisville toxicologists, epidemiologists, researchers. I usually was always the only woman and the only black in the room. And I said, well, why didn't somebody come up with this? What they said was, we have projects that we work with the industry. We don't
They
want
have
this
what?
projects that they do with
Uh-huh.
the
With the industries. Okay.
research. And we really don't want to mess up that relationship. So I said, and we had to write what we call the risk management plan.
So what year was that it really kind of took off?
I'm sorry, that we did monitoring we wrote the grant went from 1996 to 1998. The environmental justice grant
Okay.
went from 1996 to 1998.
Okay.
The monitoring money came in 1998.
Okay.
The end
Okay.
of it, because we didn't spend all of it, so it kind of extended out past the 1998 a little bit. So basically, let's say 1999, we
The reason
started.
I asked that question because I wasn't living here.
Right.
And um, just actually when I came back, when I moved back home,
hmm
then I found out about the air.